Hello, everybody. My name is Matt Demers. I'm here with theScore eSports, talking to Zai, who just had an amazing Clockwork game as part of the second three-game series here at the Summit 3. It's the fourth day of competition. We are winding down. We only have two more series before the games are over. You guys have just made it through to the grand finals. You gave Vici their first loss. I should ask, how are you feeling about that?
It feels really good. Yeah. I think Vici was one of the top contenders for this tournament, and also, kind of the team to beat. So it definitely feels good to beat them, especially after that first game, which felt like it was honestly like a devastating loss for us. So yeah.
How hard is it to kind of rebound from like what you say is a devastating loss? Obviously, it's something that the entire team feels. So how do you guys kind of like pick yourself back up after that and kind of just like regroup?
I think we realized that our biggest mistake was banning the Darkseer in the first phase instead of getting rid of the Bounty Hunter. Yeah. Because we thought that we had enough resources to deal with the Bounty Hunter, but it didn't really work out for us in the first game. So we just got snowballed really hard. But instead, in the second and the third game, we just banned the Bounty Hunter instead. And they were intent on giving us Chen, so we just played our game.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a common thing is where teams are figuring out, or well, thinking that, oh, we have enough resources to deal with X, and then that seems to kind of like backfire on them horribly. Can you think of maybe like a time, I guess, another game during this event that you kind of like noticed that a little bit, where people, either yourselves or someone else, basically thought, you know what, we have enough resources to deal with X, but in reality it's kind of a little bit more than that?
I think another example of that is our first game versus EG, where they let us have Broodmother and thought that just putting Darkseer in my lane would be enough. But we won, and I don't think Darkseer works well enough to counter Broodmother, because Broodmother is one terrifying hero. So yeah.
What we were seeing earlier in the tournament was a lot of Axe, and then the occasional, I think there was like an LC game that didn't really go so well. So I definitely noticed that there is a lot of Broodmother bans. Is that just one of the heroes that in this patch, like what we're seeing is that early experience, early gold tends to be like reigning king here. Like if you can get a very early advantage, or if it's easy to farm with a certain hero, is that just something that Broodmother does well, or is it another reason why you think that it's drawing so many bans?
I think Broodmother fits this group of offlaners recently that are favored by all the top teams, because in this patch and how people play right now, it's very difficult to get experience as an offlaner unless you have this like innate ability to just get XP somehow. So you see heroes like Broodmother, Clockwork, Darkseer. These are probably the three heroes we picked the most from my offlane, because they just allow you to threaten their safe lane while still, being able to just stay there solo. But if you pick up something, I mean, we don't see any Bat Rider, we barely see any other offlaners that need three, because it's so difficult for them to actually threaten the lane. And in this patch especially, you have to pressure your opponent's safe lane, otherwise they're just going to get so far ahead, since your offlaner is nothing and their safe lane has something. So if that happens, you're not going to be able to find man, which is like a vital part of this patch. So yeah.
Is it something that I was what we were hearing about, I guess, against Bristleback, which has just been such a a key hero of this entire tournament? Yeah. They were saying you either devote so many resources to dealing with Bristleback early that you may neglect other lanes. So when you're saying all these like self-sufficient or these offlaners, I guess, that are really popular, is it important that they're self-sufficient, that you can kind of like leave them alone and they still can survive without drawing so many resources?
It definitely is, and especially if the enemy team has to remove something off that lane, like their support has to rotate mid, these heroes will all pressure their safe lane carry so much. Like in multiple situations for me throughout this tournament and Red Bull, which was the previous tournament, whenever my team does something on the map and the enemy is forced to rotate, I get so much out of my lane. And even though I'm Darkseer like level 1, 3 minutes in, as soon as they leave the lane, I'm going to be able to get XP. So it's definitely, as you say, these heroes are, they have to be self-sustainable in order to be good picks. So yeah.
Someone was saying earlier that the last patch made everyone play very careful around their laning and their kind of like early game team fighting, because they didn't want to give such an advantage that it would snowball. Now we seem to be in a patch where that's been amplified times 10. I guess, do you find that do you find that that's true, I guess? Do you find that like teams are playing really careful in the early game in order to like avoid these kind of losses, or yourself, I guess?
I think it definitely has some amount of truth to it, because basically how this patch works is you draft the lanes that are really strong, and they usually just snowball off your lanes with taking minimal risks and try not to give away your advantage. I think that's like a remainder of the previous patch, because teams learned how to play super safe. So you definitely have to basically just snowball off your lanes and not take any risks. It's pretty much how you play this patch. So.
Is there so next match? Of course, we only have 2 matches left in the tournament. You're going to be in one of them, a best of 5. Everything else has been best of 3 so far. The next match that I believe is going to be happening tomorrow before the grand finals, obviously, is EG versus Vici. Obviously, you just beat Vici, and you guys did defeat your Evil Geniuses earlier. So I guess like depending on who wins, like do you have a preferred team that you would rather win that match?
To be honest, I think both teams are kind of similar. I think Vici and EG are both teams that adapt to their opponent very, very well, which kind of makes them like equally difficult to play, I would say. I mean, you could argue that maybe some players are individually less talented or something like that, but when it comes down to it, I think both teams do their best to just adapt to the enemy team they're facing. So, for example, when EG plays us, they're going to draft something entirely else, if they play Vici, for example. So I'm not really sure how that matchup is going to go because I think, as I said, these two teams are so good at adapting to each other. So it's going to be like a clash of, I think, a lot of mixed ideas. And we're probably going to see something very new and interesting.
Something I just wanted to ask, I guess, as the last question. I was talking to Xiaowei yesterday, and he said that one of the most important things going into the international is just not so much the results, but playing as many teams as possible in order to get kind of just a sampling, I guess, of different styles that you may have to adapt to down the road. What do you, I guess, think about that?
Definitely is true. I mean, you see a lot of teams just hop at like every opportunity to play in all of these tournaments before TI because, as you said, it's just like essentially it's just practice for TI. I mean, that's how everyone perceives these tournaments. So as long as you get as many games in and you learn something from every game, you're taking like huge steps towards TI. So yeah.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Zai, for talking to us. We really appreciate it. Good luck for the rest of the tournament. If you guys are looking for more interviews, more in-depth stats, and more analysis, you can check out theScoreEsports.com. We've definitely got an app that you'll be able to check all those things in the palm of your hand and follow players like Zai. Again, good luck in the rest of the tournament. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a good night.